Hi everybody. For those of you who don't know, my name is Itza, and today's video might be a little bit jumpy. It has taken me a few days to honestly gather my thoughts, and I'm gonna be inserting certain clips here and there throughout the video to kind of get more context and explain what has been going on lately and just things that shouldn't happen. So this is gonna kind of be like a story time type of video with my most recent surgical procedure, which was that I needed to have my feeding tube changed. So before I get into what actually happened, I will be explaining why I had my feeding tube changed, and I'll be either inserting clips or pictures. I'm not sure yet. Just bear with me. I'm not great at editing, so we'll see how this turns out. So Monday, July 5th, I ended up in the emergency room because I needed to have an emergency procedure, which was having my feeding tube changed. Prior to that, my tube was hurting like never before. I have a GJ tube. For those of you that don't know, I'll be showing what that looks like in a bit. This is future Itza editing. I forgot to insert the clip of what my tube looks like right now, so I'm gonna show you that right now and then the video will continue on. So this is what my GJ tube, apologies, looks like right now. So this is the new tube that got inserted. This is the J part, which is jejunal, and then the G part, gastric. Gastric goes through stomach, jejunal goes through the intestines, and I eat through the J tube exclusively. So I have that GJ tube, and the one I had, I guess it kinked or it coiled inside of me, and it was like, it felt like it was puncturing my intestine. I called the hospital over the weekend and they gave me the runaround a little bit, and then I was finally able to get a hold of the doctor who would be performing the procedure, and his team talked to me and they're like, we're gonna be there, just come here at 8 a.m. and we're gonna change the tube for you because it sounds like something's wrong. So that's what I did. I got prepped for the procedure, you know, nothing, NPO means nothing by mouth. Don't drink water, don't eat after midnight the night of the procedure, the night before the procedure, I'm sorry. And I got up, I got ready, and I'll probably be inserting that clip here. So good morning everybody. Today we're on our way to the hospital because I'm having an emergency procedure done. My feeding tube has been hurting really bad for the past week or so. I have not been able to feed through my IV. After I called the hospital for a few days, I finally got a hold of a radiologist, and it seems like my tube got coiled and it needs to be changed immediately. So they told me first thing Monday morning to go and get it changed, which is what we're doing right now. We're on our way to the hospital. It's been very painful and I cannot do anything really. Like, even sitting right now trying to hold the camera is very painful. So I don't know why it happened, but it was also time to have it changed. You're supposed to have it changed every 6 months or so. It was on the 6-month mark already, so I guess that's good. It doesn't feel good, but hopefully this tube exchange will go smoother than the last time. Last time was horrendous, but so yeah. And this is the tube right now. Since we're going to a hospital, I don't know how much I'll be allowed to record because there's doctors and patients and just people. So respecting people's privacy and just being respectful of the environment is important. So I don't know how much I'll be able to record, but I'll try my best. So I am currently in the hospital waiting to be taken to the back for surgery. They had to put me on a wheelchair because I started hurting really, really bad and I couldn't keep walking. So now we're waiting. Just a wheelchair. So that was on my way to the hospital. It was bright and early in the morning. I was really nervous because the last tube change I had was very traumatic and very painful. I was in the operating table and I felt absolutely everything. And if you know me, you know by now that I don't take sedatives really well. My body really, really fights against any type of anesthetic. Benadryl does nothing to me. General anesthesia, it takes a long time for it to get me sleepy and drowsy. So I have a very high tolerance to sedatives and anesthetics, I think. So already going into that, I was very nervous because last time the sedation did not work and I was trying to jump out of the OR table and I was being kind of held down. I was crying. I was telling them to stop because I felt everything. The procedure continued and they did what they had to do and I was just left in tears. So after reassurance over the phone from the team, they're like, no, just let us know. We're gonna take care of you. If you need extra sedation, we'll give it to you. Like, do not worry. And he was very reassuring, so I felt a little bit more calm. I don't get seen until probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm hypoglycemic. I have low blood sugar. I haven't eaten since the night before, so I'm not feeling well already. And I'm just nervous. They're taking a very long time and it's just nerve-wracking just waiting there and not knowing what's going on. They're not calling me back. It's the afternoon and I haven't heard anything from the staff or anybody. I keep talking to the doctors coming out of the emergency room and asking them like what's going on. They're like, oh, they're getting your paperwork ready, they're busy, there's a lot of people here today. I was like, okay. And then I ended up calling the person I spoke to over the weekend and I'm like, there's like, what's going on? I've been here for 5 hours ish and what's going on? And they're like, oh no, we know you're there. We know you're in the hospital. Like, we know, it's just taking some time to get your paperwork ready. Or so they end up eventually bringing me back to the pre-op station. I get changed into my gown. They give me a hairnet. I'm already in a lot of pain. Remember, I've been in pain for over a week. I was just crying in the bathroom. I had to take, my mom was with me. She took me to the bathroom. I just like started bending over, crying, like in agonizing pain, because it's a pain I cannot describe. Like I can't put it into words how bad it was. And I get brought back out. They do my vitals. They make me sign papers about, yes, you're going into this procedure, the procedure, what it was and how it was going to go down. I sign the papers, and then I say goodbye to my mom, and they wheel me into the operating room. I am very nervous. I repeat everything a billion times to the staff, the team there. I'm like, I don't take anesthetic well. I'm allergic to this. Last time it was horrible. I felt everything. I almost like jumped out of the table because sedation did not work for me. And they're like, okay, thank you for telling us and all this stuff. But at the same time, everybody there was kind of like arguing with each other. No one was really coordinated on what was going on. The doctor who does the procedure was in a really bad mood. I guess he wasn't aware. I'm assuming here he wasn't aware of my procedure. They didn't notify him. I wasn't on the schedule or something. But he was in a really bad mood, and everybody else was just not on their game. The person who takes my IV, I have really bad veins, and I usually need midlines or PICC lines because regular IVs don't work on me. My vein ends up blowing, or it like infiltrates, and they can never find it without a sonogram machine. So I let them know this, and they bring out the sonogram machine, and the lady who's gonna take my IV, she's like talking to a co-worker, and she's like, I've never done this, like I just things you do not want to hear before you go under. She's like, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this. I guess we'll try. Let's see if it works. And I'm just there like, I'm looking around. I'm already laying down with my arms open, and I'm just praying in my head like, please let this go well. Like, I cannot be hearing this right now. This is not what I need. And then another person comes in. They're like, oh, like, hurry up and do it. She's gonna be fine. Like, come on, let's get this going. We got stuff to do. And I'm just a nervous wreck at this point, and I'm like, is everything okay? She has a lot of trouble finding my veins. She finds one, and it takes forever for her to actually find it. She finds it on the sonogram monitor, but not on me. And she's like digging around. It's very painful, but I'm so nervous and so anxious. I barely focus on that pain, and my thoughts just start taking over. I'm trying not to cry already because I'm like, this is already a disaster. No one's ready. Everybody's like down each other's throats. Just, it was very unprofessional. And then out of nowhere, the head nurse, I believe, comes in, and she's like, stop the procedure. We're not doing this because we can't sedate you. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? She comes to me and she's like, we can't do your procedure because you never got a bed in the ER, and we don't have room for you. If you want to be sedated, you need a room. So you need to leave the OR, go back to the emergency room, and wait until we have an available bed for you. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on? And she's like, or we just do this like cold-blooded, like we do it without sedation. And I lost my sanity at that point. I was like, how can you do this procedure? You're literally opening up a hole I have in my body and putting stuff in it. How is it possible to do this without sedation? I've done it with sedation before, and it kills me. And she's like, well, it's up to you. If you don't want, if you want sedation, you're gonna have to leave and you'll come back when we're ready for you, like when we have space for you. And I was like, I absolutely want sedation. So I was getting ready to get wheeled out of the OR. She leaves. Another nurse runs in and she's like, hey, you don't have to go. We're gonna sedate you. You're fine. We don't have a bed for you, but we talked to somebody in the emergency room who's willing to watch your bed. Like, we're just gonna put you in the hallway because we don't have any room. So they literally put me in a hallway where everybody's walking in front of me and I have no privacy. I have no clothes, just the freaking gown they give you for operations. And she's like, well, let's go ahead and do the procedure because you're gonna be sedated and we can accommodate you. So the procedure starts and they start putting in a sedative called Ativan. This is where things get really bad, really fast. I immediately feel like my arm is being ripped out of my body. I feel like it is on fire. It got ripped out. I am telling them, it's burning, it's burning, it's burning. You have to stop. I can't. It's burning. I'm thinking either my vein blew, which happens all the time, and then the like the fluids or the medication doesn't go into the vein. It goes either into the muscle or just like the arm, and it builds up fluid. I've had that happen before. It's excruciating. And the guy who's pumping in the Ativan, he's like, no, you're fine, it'll hold, it'll hold. And I'm like, please stop, it's literally killing me. I'm like on the verge of tears. And he's like, let's do it really, really slow. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be so sleepy. Just bear with me. And he keeps doing it. And I'm just hysterically crying, trying to get up once again, like last time. And then the doctor sees this and he like jumps in and he's just trying to distract me. He's like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like crying hysterically. He's like, so what do you do for fun? Like, what do you do for school? Like, trying to distract me. It's not working. And the sedation doesn't work. Ultimately, they do 2 vials of the, or 2 mLs. I don't want to get that mixed up. Of the Ativan. It does not work like I told them it wouldn't. And he's like, well, we still have to do this procedure, so buckle up. And I'm like, holy crap, this can't be happening again. This cannot be happening again. Like I'm like already crying, but now I'm hysterically crying. He starts telling me like, I'm gonna go in, we have to do this, like I can't keep waiting for it to kick in. It's not gonna kick in. Let's do this. It's really, really hard to talk about this. This happened just a few days ago. It's very traumatic. It's given me PTSD. I already suffer from PTSD, and it just, my PTSD at that moment being held down, and I'm just saying, please stop, I can't do this, like I don't want to do this, it was just very overwhelming and just heart-wrenching, and I just felt like nothing. Like I felt like I wasn't even human. I wasn't being treated like I was a human at this point. I felt everything, mind you. He took out the tube. I felt his fingers go into the hole in my belly, like he was like trying to put the new tube in with the I don't know what it's called. It's like a metal rod first. Like, I'm probably not saying the names right, I'm sorry, I'm just very bewildered at that point, and I'm just crying, like trying to get up, trying to catch my breath. I have a mask on during the entire procedure, so I'm like trying to catch my breath. I like, my makeup's running everywhere. I did put a little bit of makeup to make myself feel better, like I did today, because it's been horrible, like these past few days, sitting down and actually having to talk to my therapist about what happened and how everything went down. It's actually the first time I've talked about this without full on crying hysterically. So they're like, you're almost done, and I'm like, I can't do this, I can't, just like, please stop, please stop. And the doctor all of a sudden just stops and he walks out, and everybody walks out for that matter. And only 2 people are left in the room, which was the nurse assistant that was next to the doctor, and she's like, she didn't even like check in on me. She's like, yeah, your tube needed to be changed, it was a little broken, it looked like it was a little bit coiled, nothing too bad. And I was just like, yeah, I was just numb emotionally, like I was just traumatized. I was in shock that this happened all over again, despite me begging them and telling them, and they just didn't listen. And the guy who put in the Anavan, he just takes my IV out and he's like, we're gonna wheel you to post-op and your mom's waiting for you. They wheel me in and I see my mom and I just lose it all over again, and I tell her everything that happened. I'm not sedated whatsoever. I'm talking to my mom just like I'm talking to you right now. I'm articulating, I'm explaining, I'm detail oriented, and my mom is just, she doesn't even know what to say at this point. And I'm pointing at the doctors and people in the room as they walk by. I'm like, they did this, he did that, she said this. And the, like, they don't even come, like the doctor doesn't even come after the procedure and said like, this is what happened, it went well or whatever. He disappeared. The only person that comes after the procedure is the guy that put in the sedative. The guy who, after the lady put in my IV, he was the one controlling the sedative. And he's like, oh, she did good, let's wheel her out, she's fine. And my mom's like, she's not okay, what happened? And he was like, you know, stuff happens. And my mom's like, what happened? And he's not telling her. He just moves the stretcher, just wheels me onto the emergency room hallway and leaves me there. And like in the middle of people walking down the hallway, I don't get privacy, I don't get a room, I don't get anything. And I just get wheeled down there. I don't get any instructions for my new tube, when I take the bandaging out, when can I start eating through the tube, if the cleaning, the care is going to be the same, is there something I need to do different, if the valves I have are going to fit through this tube. Nothing explained, nobody explained anything to me at all. So I'm just crying and I'm just looking around like, is anybody gonna help me? There's people screaming in the background, there's this guy in horrific pain, and you'll see that in a clip I attach. He's been wailing in pain this entire time, and I'm literally in a hallway just looking at everybody. I feel like I'm at the zoo. Everybody's just looking at me and there's just chaos everywhere. And then out of nowhere a nurse gets up and she's like, you can go, just leave. And I said, no, they told me I have to be in observation now because they use a sedative. And she's like, no, 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 like, forget about that. You can go. I don't get discharge papers handed to me. I'm in the gown and I'm like, well, where am I gonna change? I'm buckaroo kind of not dressed under here. And my mom finds a bathroom. Like, at this point the nurse goes back. She does not give a fadoodle. She's like, you gotta go, like, there's too much going on, I can't watch you. We find a bathroom. I change my clothes. So as you can see, a lot has happened. I'll explain more once I get home, but I'm going to show you kind of what I have going on right now. So I have the gown, I have the new tube in, everything is in place, I guess. There seems to be some kind of other complication that we're going to get into later on once I get home, but this is what it looks like. It's been absolutely awful. And I go back to the stretcher. I'm like, okay, I'm in my clothes, I'm a little more comfortable, I'm warmer. And then she comes back and she says, like, I told you, you need to leave, like, you don't have to be here. And my mom's like, how is that possible? That's not what we were told. And she's like, just sign these papers and get out. We're like very overwhelmed, we can't deal with this. And I look over the papers and they're not really discharge papers, they're just papers saying I had the procedure, but I didn't get like the papers I usually get when I get discharged from getting my tube changed, which is like a yellow and pink paper. They just gave me like a printed out Word document that said you had this done on this day, but like no, didn't get discharged with any pain medication or any formal instructions, nothing. And my mom's like, fine, where's the wheelchair? And the nurse just turns away at this point. My mom is not being heard. And she's like, this cannot be real. Like, they sedated me. Though it didn't work, they still, within the rules of the hospital, and like, you have to be wheeled out of the hospital after a procedure. Whether it's outpatient or not. And I was clutching on to my mother with this stab wound, fresh bandages, and I had the betadine solution all over. Like, it seeped all over my clothes, my pants, and I was just walking, holding my wound, and just like crouching over my mother, which is what you'll see now. So please excuse my makeup is a mess. I've definitely been crying. As you can see, I got discharged as soon as surgery happened. No one took care of me after, and there's no staff, so I don't have a wheelchair. I'm walking holding my stab wound. And my mom's walking next to me, making sure I don't fall. But there's no staff here, no wheelchairs, nothing. Overall, it was a horrifying experience, just another traumatic event to add to my very big list of traumas, already existing traumas. And I took the camera in the first place because I'm like, I want to show what it kind of is like to live with a feeding tube and what changing a feeding tube consists of. I didn't record as much as I hoped to. A lot happened, and it's been like a few days now, and after talking to both of my therapists and fully sitting down and processing everything that happened, I'm able to now collect myself and not cry through what happened. Not cry explaining what happened, which was absolutely traumatizing and should never happen to anybody. And I don't understand why this was allowed to happen. Yes, I've filed complaints against this hospital multiple times, against staff and the hospital itself, and nothing ever gets done. And the only reason I went to this hospital once again was because the only doctor that knows, that does this procedure is in that hospital. And I'm just very conflicted. I'm very hurt, not only like physically, just emotionally and mentally. It keeps snowballing it's just a huge snowball of all these events that keep happening with these hospitals I keep going to, and me being hurt physically and just mentally every single time I'm there, no matter who I speak to, no matter the, like, literally, no matter if I speak to a manager or the chief of staff or whoever, no one does anything. And the treatment of patients is just absolutely unacceptable and inhumane. And I'm not even sure I can name the hospital for legal reasons. I'm not sure, so I won't. But this is not the first time. This is far from the first time that this has happened to me within this same hospital, with the staff. And I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of being treated like a piece of trash. I'm not treated like human. Just how they got up and discarded me no more than 10 minutes after this procedure was done, while I was still shaking, crying, in horrifying pain. And they just tell me, walk it off. Good luck. Good riddance. Get out of here. It's absolutely unacceptable. And this shouldn't be happening to anybody. I don't know how to end this video on a good note. I hope everybody out there is happy and healthy and working on themselves and safe. And once again, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to listen to my story. And thank you for just allowing me to express myself in a way that I couldn't before. And I'll try to be more consistent with video uploads, but this just, it's really difficult. And I'll make a video soon about everything kind of compiled together of chronic illness and living as a young adult and all the hurdles I have to go through. You wouldn't even imagine, things you wouldn't even think of that a young person goes through with a chronic illness, or let alone a person who's healthy. No one should be going through stuff like this, and this is why I decided to open up this channel and just talk about it. So I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear whatever it is you have to say. Thank you for listening to me, and have a beautiful rest of your day.